And we are live. It is. Oh my gosh! What has happened? What
We're
it
late.
seems like just yesterday we were wrapping up the season and everything was golden. And you know what? We went on vacation. Took some time off.
A lot of time.
Didn't think a bit about football. That's a lie. We've been talking football almost the entire time.
All day, every day.
All day, every day, but we're back. We're on the mics. We're on the cameras, the ones and the twos, whatever the kids are saying nowadays. It's fantasy football. It's losing sucks. Most importantly, Travis, it's episode 101. And
Season
we're
3.
Yeah. Season 3. It seems
3-piece.
wild. Man, it feels good to be back, man. It feels good to be back. And we're talking Dynasty. You know, it's the off season, and in Dynasty there's not really an off season. You know, it's just more of a before the season, you know, dog days. What the hell?
The
is
Aaron
going
Rodgers
on?
days.
Yep. The Aaron Rodgers days. There we go. Yeah.
All
I'm
we
not
had to
that
do
high.
every day was wonder where he's going to be.
That's right. And most of the time it was in a dark room or a cave. So
And now you celebrate because he's out of your division, and now everybody else has a chance to win it.
I just want to talk about that for really the whole episode. Just like it's like the pain is gone, you know, the guy who just used to bully you. Like that guy caused me I have way more bad memories of Aaron Rodgers in my life than good ones with the Bears. You know,
Wow.
like that's
a
and that's not
powerful
even a
man right
joke.
there.
That's not even a joke. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's pretty rough. But we're here, man. We got some stuff to talk about, and most importantly, and probably for our viewers, the most fun. We've got plenty to disagree on, and
As always.
as always, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. A few guys that have become a hot button topic for us in our group chats and our Twitter messages and everything like that. Everyone that we find to be, I'm high on. Travis doesn't see a path for them moving forward. We're going to get to that as well.
Whoa. That's bullshit. You
No,
and I
no.
have agreed on many things in our group chat of 5, and we have bonded over certain players that we are
There've been a
willing
few.
to die on.
There've been a few.
Justin Fields versus everybody.
Yes, absolutely. That guy, he's MVP, QB1.
I like it.
Yeah, but like I said, we're talking Dynasty today, and we'll just kick it off because we've got a few things to cover. Mostly, it's kind of a general statement, but we want to get into some specifics of winning now versus win in the future. Whatever you want to call it. Tanking, rebuilding. I don't know if it's really rebuilding when you do a startup and you already determined you're going to suck. So you're really just like productive struggle, or really just like, I don't want to win any games. Like, I'd rather just pay to lose for a while.
By the time you're competing, you've already paid $100.
Right. So let's start there. Let's talk about the startup draft of a dynasty, which is really the most fun, right? I think we can all agree, other than trade negotiations, that's the most fun of a dynasty, is that startup draft. You're in it, you're getting the players at their present value. You know what those, sleepers are, the guys that are undervalued, overvalued, all that stuff. Let's talk strategy then. Because we've had a few startups already this year. Much to my wife's chagrin, she absolutely has put a cap on the amount of leagues I'm allowed to be in.
Mine too. She's like, you're drafting? I mean, there's no cap, but she's like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, I'm drafting. She's like, football's 7 months away. I'm like, yes, but I'm drafting, okay? I'm making money for this household.
That's right. That's right. You're doing your part. But let's talk, because there's a few questions that, we've got our show sheet, a few intriguing questions that we've got. So I want to talk to you, Travis, right now. Let's talk when to move up and when to move back. Because you and I have different philosophies, it seems. I've learned a few things. When to use picks and how to use picks.
My most successful draft so far this offseason has been selling future picks for absolute superstar players. For example, a 2024 and 2025 first round pick for the 301 in a startup, which ended up being Garrett Wilson. We'll get back to Garrett Wilson later. But he's the type of player, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, those type of guys are worth 2 firsts anyway, pretty much at any point during the season. So why not start with an extra one of those players? And then if something doesn't go your way, you have an extra one of those guys that you know you can cash in for 2 firsts when the time is right. But you can start with a competitive advantage and see, okay, what do I look like after the first 6 or 8 weeks? My team's loaded. I don't have picks. Okay, I'm making a run at the title, especially if they're young, elite wide receivers. Their value's not going to decrease. So I have found this is my 3rd year playing Dynasty, and what I've learned as far as moving picks in a startup is it has to be for young superstars. It does not need to be for the DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen type. You just don't need to do that. Those guys you can get for cheaper, but it's so hard to get a Garrett Wilson or T. Higgins or Amon-Ra in season. Now is the time to buy them, and then if you have to sell them later, you can always do that whenever you want.
Gotcha.
That's my philosophy.
Go after the younger studs, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if you're going to use picks, it's got to be for young elite guys.
Yeah. I don't mind that because looking at builds, especially startup drafts, when you typically see, guys moving up, because a lot of the times, at least in the drafts that I've been in, most people want to move back. Most people want to accrue that draft capital, that, extra picks. They'd rather sell, their second and third round picks for multiple, rounds 5 through 9, when that's really you're getting production and depth. So I don't mind that.
I've seen that work really, really well. I've seen
sure.
you do that really well.
For sure. I mean, I've tried a couple that, for a weakness of mine. What I like most that I've changed in the last year is that I've gotten better about being more committed to winning now. I've moving myself into a position where I'm not just perpetually young. I learned where to build and how to build. So that's something my mind is kind of mindset has changed around. In terms of builds, though, you kind of have to be cognizant of what your team looks like, right? Because there are going to be players that you draft that don't fit how your team is constructed, and you have to be aware of that because, you could be, like you said, you trade multiple first, you go up and get a Garrett Wilson, you trade your 24, 25 first, get the 301. Fine, but then that means you essentially are going win now, right?
Yeah, you're committing to going for it, yeah.
Right. So then that means later in your draft, you're probably going more, older wide receiver, running back heavy, invest in points now, not necessarily developmental pieces. So that's a build that all fine and well. Startup, you could probably get more value, at least in my opinion, in terms of this different perspective. Instead of moving those picks now, Garrett Wilson's going to be good. Do you think you would be able to get more with those picks after the startup when maybe a young team has older talent, or like you're able to get a Mike Evans or a DeAndre Hopkins later in the 7th to 9th round?
Yeah, I think that the owner of the Keenan Allen, Nick Chubb, elite older guys, Devontae Adams, they're gonna want a first back, and somebody will give them that towards the trade deadline. They're going to get a first for those type of guys.
Sure.
Would you give up DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, would you give up your Garrett Wilson for DeAndre Hopkins and Nick Chubb? Probably not.
No.
So if Chubb is worth a first in season, and Hopkins, Keenan, Devontae Adams, these guys are worth a first in season.
In the right
That's
situation.
equaling 2 first. Like, yes, it will give you a better chance to have 2 starting positions filled by guys who are going off at the right time.
Sure.
But long-term wise, like, those same 2
Sure.
first in value are giving you 10 plus years of elite receiver in a startup.
Sure. Yeah, I guess
Like
I might
Chubb
have a,
and
yeah.
Hopkins is never returning Jalen Waddle or Amon-Ra.
No, not right now. Which is, again, I would say a perspective to have on that is to know where your team's heading, like have a direction in mind, because you're like, for those of you who are new to listening or not familiar with kind of how we both operate our teams or how we approach Dynasty. Travis is really good at making in-season deals, capitalizing on news or hype or changing situations for different players. So when you're talking right now, you can't get DeAndre Hopkins, Nick Chubb, and go and send them off for Jalen Waddle. But there may come a time when Waddle has had a rough stretch. Maybe Tua gets injured again, has no one throwing him the ball, and that team needs to win. Then that's a time when you
very good point.
They may be in a win now scenario. DeAndre Hopkins goes and he's traded to the Chiefs or whatever, and then now you've got a win now running back, win now wide receiver, and then you go and get Waddle. So you kind of have to know how to turn these players in, which is kind of where I want to transition into knowing your team. That's kind of what I've been getting at as we've been moving along, in that there's a few things that you really need to be aware of. When you're playing, when you're drafting, and number one, it goes without saying though, Travis, you have to know your league settings.
Yeah.
That's nothing. Like, I was just in a draft not too long ago where heck, it was the auction draft that we were in, and half the league didn't look at the rules and realize that it's not just straight up tight end premium, it's tiered PPR scoring. So
I didn't look at the rules one time, and it was also a first auction, and I was also in
Right.
Mexico, so it didn't go so great.
Oh, you were in Mexico during that. Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, sure, take all my money, just bring me another shot. It didn't go
This
well.
is news.
I feel like I've donated at least for the next 5 years to this league. But I wasn't upset because I could just put my phone down and look back at the ocean. I was okay.
Yeah. That it feels good. Yeah, I wish I could show you guys the roster. But Travis spent half his budget on Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. Those are his quarterbacks. So he's set at quarterback, but he has 4 other players on his team.
We can absolutely sling it.
Absolutely. But getting back to what I was saying, knowing your team, knowing how you're building it is just as important as the players on it, because there's a few things to consider, Travis. One of them we always talk about on the show, and that's age. But it's not always cut and dry about what that means for your team. Because we all have people whose number one goal in the league is to stay young, always, at all costs. It doesn't matter about wins and losses, just stay young. New players, rookies, I don't care. Awesome, we just drafted Drake London last year. Well, guess what? Jackson Smith-Njigba, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, get them all in here. Get these old, second-year vets out of here. We want the rookies.
Yes.
But it's all well and good, but realistically, you're trying to get wins and losses. Or you're trying to get wins. It's all about wins and losses. So ultimately, Travis, the question we have to ask is, why is age so important? It's because it influences the type of deals you do. You've learned it after playing Dynasty for a little bit. Knowing the age of the particular group of players in your quote-unquote room, whether it's your quarterback room, wide receiver room, whatever's on your roster, kind of influences the type of team or type of trajectory your team's on. And it's going to tie into the next point I want to make, and that's production. Because, not to get on a long diatribe, but I put a lot of thought about this. Over the offseason, Travis, I've taken a different approach to playing fantasy, and I'm really excited to see how it pays off. It's less about who the player is, and it's more about I take the name off, and it's more about this roster spot. It's all about, I don't care about the name. How many points can I, reasonably put into this roster spot to win me games? It's player agnostic.
I've done that in redraft only,
Yes.
particularly in Yahoo. I would look at over the last 6 or 7 years.
Right.
What do you need? What do you need your team total to be be a top 3 team in the league? And that's what our home league is a standard league. That's 115 points per week. You will be in the Final Four.
Yep.
So how do I get to that point? Which is what you're saying. You have to assign a point value that you need at each position. If Travis Kelce's going to give you 15, you can lower them somewhere else. So you just have to build that 115-point roster.
Right.
In Dynasty, that's a lot harder. So
for sure.
Are you speaking more about Dynasty you're looking at? Okay.
Honestly, so season to season redraft, it applies absolutely. Dynasty, it still applies, but adding in the aspect of knowing how you need to treat each transaction on your team or each roster spot on your team, what you're needing. Obviously, so if you have like a younger team, you don't quote unquote need more points. What you need are more bullets. You need more shots at guys that can get you to, okay, if I want to build 3 wide receivers or however many flexes I have, and I want, one of them to be at 13 points a game, 11, and then 10, I need to know, okay, range of outcomes for this guy, or these 3 guys that I can get for this, one player, that can reasonably happen. So that's kind of where I've learned to realistically assign value, because I get so caught up in who can be, like the hot names, for guys who've come in this year, it's like guys like Dalton Kincaid,
Twitter is a dangerous place.
Twitter is a dangerous place because it is
really
a hype
is.
machine. It is a hype machine. It will get you super excited, but
Groupthink.
Perfect example. You hear guys like unproven guys. Dalton Kincaid, box player. What's in the box? Rashee Rice, second round player, who was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my God, that's exciting. Guys like this who are really unproven come out of nowhere. Jonathan Mingo, who we get so excited about what could possibly be there for these guys. And realistically, you just have to look at, what is predictable. Rookie wide receivers don't usually come out, especially with the draft capital that those guys got. They don't typically come out and have, a wide receiver 1 or 2 season right off the bat,
Right.
So that's what I'm getting at. Knowing what you need, knowing what is reasonable and what you can get. So again, that was a long kind of way around to get to what I'm trying to say is points. Points are most important, not so much the name. So
you've got to know when to bail.
You do have
That's
to know when to
been the
bail.
hardest thing for me to learn is it's just in my DNA to go do whatever I possibly can to win right now.
Right.
It's been such a redraft mindset. And so now as I learn Dynasty, the second offseason gets here, the day after the Super Bowl even, it's like, wow, all of my guys are ancient and nobody will give you anything for them.
No. And
if you
really
can weather
tough.
that storm and you get to September, people don't hate Keenan Allen and DeAndre Hopkins quite as much because they're getting 12 targets again. And they're like, oh, yeah, they're still that guy.
Like, this guy's still good.
But for 6 months, if you sell any of your vets, you're selling them at a discount. So you just have to hang on.
Yeah.
If you're older, wait. The offseason is not your time. You wait until in season. If you are younger, then yes, sell your remaining vets to anybody that's buying and acquire picks. It's really that simple, but it's just harder to do that because you build a connection to these guys. You win a ring with Nick Chubb, and now you don't want to move them.
Right.
There's a point where you have to move everybody. I've even moved Kelsey and Christian McCaffrey in a couple leagues.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a really great point that you touched on. I really want to kind of expound on that. Is that the way I broke it down, I had to get to thinking today is that to me, there's like 4 different types of team that you can have. I have young-ish, getting old and ancient. And what that comes down to is, again, touch on age. So if you're young, all your 80% of your roster, your points are coming from guys that are 20 to 24 years old. And that's great and all. But again, you have most of your rosters unproven or you haven't had multiple wide receiver, running back, tight end 1 seasons. So you don't really have that firm connection or foundation for these guys. So you're not really necessarily needing to bail on pieces yet to see what they're going to develop as. On the other side, though, like you just touched on, you've got guys that are ancient, and at least
let's give an example here to all the listeners. So I have a picture of an ancient roster. This is my team in Dustin's Dynasty League, my first one that just won the title, and now we would be considered ancient. What do you do with this team? My initial reaction, as it's on our screen, Dustin, is
awesome
to make another run and try to defend the title.
Right.
Yes, I'm old. Everybody on that roster, other than TJ Hawkinson, is old.
Correct.
But there's a couple pieces on the bench that are young enough to where if Kamara gets suspended or Henry gets hurt, 1 or 2 things happen, I'm still okay. Mm-hmm. I don't have many future picks to deal.
Right.
But because everybody's healthy and everybody that's in this picture is what I believe to be a top 10 to 20 player at their position on a week-to-week basis, I'm not ready to blow this team up yet. And when I decide to do that, it would be in season to teams that need specific pieces. If there's a couple teams that I think are that I'm not going to be able to compete with down the stretch, then I move Godwin, I'll move Hopkins, I'll move Derrick Henry and get a first-round pick. But right now is not the time to do that.
You've got a good point here, and I want to touch on what K-Mad in our comments is saying. His first comment is, the team scares the crap out of me if I'm the owner, and also it's sexy. That's a good point, and that's perfect, because what you're looking at here, Trav, my first question was going to be how is your draft capital looking like? And since you said you don't have a lot, I'm almost leaning in towards saying, okay, if you're not absolutely stacked, which I would not say that this team is stacked, I'm almost guaranteeing I'm selling off all the pieces once the season gets here. And I mean as soon as the season starts. As soon as I'm looking at the first opportunity to sell these guys, if I can get a first for Kamara at all in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm taking it.
But you're not getting it yet.
I would start shopping. Especially for guys that think
the bench is like this. If this changes anything,
sure.
Quarterback 3, Mac Jones.
Okay.
You've got Brandon Cooks, Chigo Okonkwo, Roshan Johnson, Tyquan Thornton, Chase Brown. There's a little bit of youth there.
Sure.
And that's what I meant by I have 1 or 2 pieces at each position to patch up if somebody gets hurt. And then when it goes off the rails, then you sell your big names for picks. But right now, who's giving you a first? Are people giving you a first for Derrick Henry right now? A 2024 first?
24 or 25 I would go after, because Derrick Henry, now granted I love Derrick Henry, he's a win now piece, but like I said, since you don't have the depth, or I would say you probably don't have the probably a top 2 or 3 starting roster, I would say you're probably wanting to sell Derrick Henry to anyone who's needing a running back. Talk to people, see what their plans are for this season. See, I've got the 2 types of team that I'm looking to trade these older players to is young or not young, young-ish or getting old teams. So guys who most of their roster are 26 to 28 years old, 25 maybe. Guys that they're maybe not quite there, but maybe they've got some draft capital that they don't necessarily need to wait on to be competitive. They just need an extra player. Get some people who are maybe desperate. not saying you can't sell in season, but the point I was going to make about these old players and why you should move them as soon as you can isn't just to get rid of them, off your roster. It's to avoid getting nothing for them.
Yes, I understand that, but if you're moving, let's say we're moving for strictly 2024 first round pick.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking to get.
Sure.
If I just wait until week 4 of the season, now I know whose 2024 pick I want or have a better idea than I do right now. Okay, we're a third of the way through the season, half the way through the season. Okay, I want one of these two guys. I want their 24 pick.
Yeah.
Because I don't want Derrick Henry for the 112 as opposed to the 105. Let me wait and see who I'm trying to push him onto.
You got to play both sides. You could live by the sword or die by the sword there because, and this is the big part. If he gets hurt, his value is not just low; it is 0. You're getting nothing for him. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying is like if Derrick Henry isn't going to be investing in your current situation, you have to invest him in your future. And if in theory, you want the most for your future. And so right now, in my assessment, he is the healthiest he's going to be all damn year. Okay. And
so you're saying this team can't win?
I'm not saying it can't. I'm saying if I were a betting man, I'm going to say it's not going to. Okay. Because I don't know who the hell is going to be throwing the ball to Chris Godwin. I don't know when Kamara's coming back. David Montgomery could be Jamal Williams. He could also be in an annoying split where he's a borderline RB3. Joe Mixon.
So you're saying Derrick Henry goes for 150 and a score week 1. He's immediately gone.
100%. 100%. Because
at least wait 1 week. Wait for somebody to have a good start because people lose their mind after week 1 and 2 of the season.
I agree, but like T.J. Hawkinson, he's gonna hold value for a while. I don't necessarily think you have to move him. I think you can get a lot for him, especially.
I do have Chigo on the bench.
I love Chigo. We just talked about that he's gonna be someone we talk about during the offseason. I just started doing my projections, and man, I am excited about Chig. But your wide receivers, in my opinion, how I like to build teams is the wide receivers are what, it's like the frame of the car, that's what you build everything else around. If you have a really nice frame, nice body, everything looks good. The running backs are like the engine of the car. As soon as I'm ready to go, ready to compete, that's when I plug in this high powered running back and I'm ready to charge, So your wide receivers are getting kind of old. Chris Godwin, not so much. I like him in the next 3 years. But Hopkins is waiting for a landing spot, and then I'm moving him.
All right, one more example to debate here.
I love it.
Here's another roster. What are you doing with this at first glance? Those of you in the comments, I'd love to hear your input as well.
Oh, wow. Bijan Robinson in Washington. I love it. Looking at the team, though, Mike Williams. So... Again,
this is a hang on and blow up early too.
Not knowing much about this team, I hate that I have Conklin in my starting roster there. So this team, you've got some pieces. I mean, look, you and I can talk about Aaron Rodgers because I am happy he's out of the NFC North, but I'm also not thrilled about wanting him on my fantasy team, but I also don't know how much you can get for him. If you can find someone like yourself who thinks
as soon as he throws for 304 touchdowns, you move
him. Sure. And
on Monday Night Football with the smirk, with the discount double check, somebody will pay more than they will right now. That's how it works.
So you and I have very different views of Aaron Rodgers because yes, he may have a game like that. But I've also seen enough from him to say that he plays slow right now. He's not exactly what he used to. I'd have to look at the plays per game. Actually, I might be able to look right now. But Aaron Rodgers is not exactly what he used to. This running all over the field gunslinger anymore. He doesn't run as much as he used to. I don't necessarily like how this team likes to operate in terms of their running style. I think this is going to be a more run heavy team than Rodgers has played on in the past. So I'm not necessarily going to just give it all to, okay, well, now they have Aaron Rodgers. This team's going to be a juggernaut. The guys that I'm looking to keep on this team, I think
I'm willing to sell every single person on this team.
Sure. I don't blame it. But
not yet.
I don't think you have to. Mike Williams, I'm trying to move. Devontae Adams, I'm trying to move. Nothing against those guys, but unless I'm trying to win right now, and I don't necessarily think that this roster is a championship roster,
not at all.
So much can change during the season, but first glance, I don't love it. But
all right, let's get it off the screen then. Let's get it off the screen.
Off the screen.
Everybody that's on that roster is going to be moved.
Good. Get him out of town. Get him out of town. But yeah, that's just kind of how I view it. I'd like to always keep in mind how old is my team? How long is my window? How many points? Honestly, so another situation I find myself in, because I'm in transition in one league. I'm kind of, I'm on the cusp of, I give myself like a 60-70% chance of making the playoffs. And I have guys like Rashad White, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, guys that aren't old but are still producing high name value right now. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a point that I wanted to touch on, is that what do you do when you don't have your first round pick next year? Because I don't have.
You mean if you're trying to rebuild?
If I'm probably in the next year or so, I'm heading towards a rebuild, and the other teams know that. What can you do to get your draft capital back? And I've been putting a lot of thought into this. And this is something that I think this theory could work. It's very much game theory, but it's, again, name agnostic, point based. Honestly, right now, I'm going to say this. If you don't have your first round pick and you have Travis Etienne on your roster, I want you to trade him away for Aaron Jones in a first. Okay? That's what I want you to do.
Wow.
I want you to
for
get
Etienne?
For Etienne.
What did he do to you?
Travis Etienne?
That was your son. That was your Ronald Jones. I would never trade away Ronald Jones for Aaron Jones in a first. Never.
I love Travis Etienne, okay? I love him.
This is horrific.
He's great. And on a lot of my win now rosters, I'm keeping him. Okay?
What happened to loyalty?
But he's a running back, okay? He has competition now. And I just started doing my projections this weekend, and looking at the numbers, Travis Etienne is going to be probably a mid-range to upper mid-range running back 2 for me. And it breaks my damn heart. Breaks my damn heart.
You're bailing.
I'm terrified.
Too early. He's electric.
But that's what I'm saying. The point potential for him, okay? Especially if I'm heading towards a rebuild. What do I value most in a rebuild, a potential rebuild? Picks. I need more bullets. I don't need running backs because that's my win now piece. That's my engine. So I need to sell these off, especially if I don't have my pick next year. I still need those points, but I don't need those points for 2 years. I need those points this year, and I need picks.
Okay, I can see it if you're trying to get your own pick, and you're basically trying to guarantee a top 3 pick. But what we just saw over the last, let's call it 24 months, is people treating 2023 first-round picks as absolute gold.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead and buy your 23 picks. These guys are gold. You've got
the deals
Zach
we saw.
Evans.
The players we saw people giving up for a 2023 first. They would rather forfeit a chance at the title knowing they're in the Final Four to acquire a 2023 first. And what happened?
To say I did that. I did that in a few places, and I hate myself for it.
Everything was lit on fire, and that can happen.
It can. It has happened.
How many of these 107 through 112 guys, which are mainly the receivers, are going to be wide receiver 2 or better this year?
I have one. of them.
Maybe. Who?
I've got Jordan Addison. I think he
if Thielen can do it, Addison can do it.
I really like Addison.
So maybe one receiver that went in the first round is a top 24 guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. And I have him in my top 30. He's not even in my top 24. So, uh,
Yes, and so now it immediately becomes the Marvin Harrison Jr. sweepstakes.
well, all right. So that's different, because
Now it's 2024. Well, so was JSN.
JSN. All right, so that
He's generational. This is Olave all over again.
If we're
no,
gonna
he's
touch
not.
on, all right, so one, Marvin Harrison is like legit. Like that's when we knew Jamar Chase was gonna be great. Granted, we didn't know much about Justin Jefferson being this guy, but guys have come out before, and we just kind of knew, okay, this guy is legit. You know what? I'm even going to change my mind on that, because all it's going to take is Marvin Harrison coming in, getting drafted, and saying, I see the ball differently than I did in college. And then people are going to be dropping him down their board. So, we had Jamar Chase, and we knew what he was. And then Marvin Harrison, all right, so I'm with you. Fuck
It's
the
this
picks.
it's this continuous chasing.
Right.
When the whole goal is to win a ring, and you have a team that is a playoff team, all you have to do is get in the dance, and anything can happen. Just ask Ben. He had one of the best teams we've ever seen on paper, and didn't even make it to the Super Bowl. Now you wait 12 more months to have another chance.
Yeah.
If you get unlucky 3 times in a row, 4 years have gone by.
Right. It's tough.
That you're chasing these rookies. It's exhausting. Let's go get championships.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Travis Etienne, though. That's really what I'm getting at. Is I love Travis Etienne, and if he didn't have competition, then absolutely he's a top 10 running back for me in dynasty wise, and I'm riding with him. Knowing how the running back is treated though in the NFL, I can, if I can't get Aaron Jones, I want multiple picks, because I can recreate, someone who can get that type of production, and it's going to cost me a lot less. Whereas this year, all I need is that production this year, so that way I can still compete this year. But also, if I can get Aaron Jones in multiple picks for Travis Etienne, I'm fine with that, because it's not like Aaron Jones is going to die, in the league to this year. He's still gonna score.
Make sure
points.
you put that in the league part there. It's got real dark real quick. It's not like he's gonna die.
Right. Absolutely. You know who else isn't
just
gonna die?
ask Brian Robinson about that. He almost died.
Oh, man, man's Iron Man. You know who else isn't gonna die though in the league, Travis?
Who?
Geno Smith. He's not.
Oh my God! It's Ryan Tannehill all over again.
Okay.
This is Ryan Tannehill. This is Derek Carr. This is a huge season.
Okay.
Followed by nothing but mediocrity right after.
This is the whole Breece Hall is Royce Freeman again.
This is not that.
Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing? We're gonna sit here. Oh my God.
Geno Smith is more Derek Carr than he is a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes or no?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I was too busy.
He's closer to Derek Carr than he is to Trevor Lawrence.
Well, yeah.
Right. So Trevor Lawrence being your QB 7, 8.
Perennially, yes.
So your 9, 10, 11, 12... Geno falls somewhere in there for you.
Yes, he is
ahead of Kirk Cousins.
All right. So I have 5 quarterbacks that I have him interchangeable with. So
Tua, Kirk Cousins.
I've got him interchangeable.
Daniel Jones.
Here, let me pull up here. What I've got? Yeah, I have him interchangeable with Dak. I have him interchangeable with Kirk Cousins. I have him interchangeable with kind of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence on any given year now.
Is interchangeable with Geno Smith.
In terms of what they can do production-wise, I've seen it. Geno Smith was quarterback 5 last year. I'm not going to take that away from him and say he can't do it, because all that team has done for him this offseason is given him an even better situation, more offensive weapons, better offensive line. Like, nothing has changed for Geno other than people just want to say he was good last year, and now all of a sudden, because I don't think he'll do it again, he'll be bad.
It took
That
him
doesn't
a
make
decade.
sense. I don't care if it took him 30 years and he figured it out at 65. Like, he's here. Like,
When you say he's okay, so on the show sheet you have Geno Smith was QB5 in 2022.
Yes.
He was
Yes.
also inside the top 10 in points per game. But you're not confident enough to put him at inside of your top 10?
Like I said, he's interchangeable with 5 guys. I think that his range of outcomes puts him anywhere from quarterback 13 to quarterback 7 or 8.
7 or 8 being Trevor Lawrence at the end of that group.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun
Is Trevor
Watson.
Lawrence closer to Geno Smith or Justin Herbert?
I think Justin Herbert. I think his range of outcomes, that ceiling, I think.
So there's a teardrop then from T-Law to the Geno Smith group.
The only teardrop here is under Geno's eye because he's a straight-up killer, okay? That's why. That's what I'm getting at here, okay?
I really hope people are not looking at their board and saying, forget Trevor Lawrence, I can get Geno in the 8.
Redraft-wise, absolutely, I would. Geno Smith will go like 4 or 5 rounds after T-Law. And what's going to be different? Like, what's going to be different?
Justin Fields in the 3rd or Geno in the 10th?
Geno.
Oh my goodness. We're not playing to win then.
Yes, we are, because you're talking about, the big boom weeks for Justin Fields. It could, 25, 30, 40 points. And those are great. I don't expect that to be as much the case this year because in that 3rd round, I'm also getting probably a killer wide receiver or running back that's going to be a positive delta of like 3 or 4 points per game. And then Geno's still going to be putting up 16 points, 17 points a game. Justin Fields also going to be putting up 20 points a game. So you're talking like it's going to equal out. Like it's going to equal out. Geno doesn't put up duds a lot of the time.
0 shares is how many I will have.
No,
I don't know what it is about Seattle. You
It's
can't
value.
quit them. We
It's
hate
value.
them.
We hated them. I hated Russell Wilson. I hated Russell Wilson. Denver can burn for all I care. He's burned me too much. Let's
I
ride.
can't believe Geno Smith is Derek Carr. He had a great year.
No,
Derek Carr had an MVP season.
When?
And
When
he's-
did Derek Carr win the MVP?
He was the top 3 in the votes.
Oh, it's the votes. The votes are what's important. I watched him play last year, and Derek Carr is what you should be worried about. Being like, that guy forgot how to play football. Like,
So why can't that happen to Geno?
Because Geno is on a much better team. Geno is a better quarterback. Geno for the
Then
last 2 years.
Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow.
Where's Darren Waller at now?
That's
He's
what
in-
Derek Carr had.
He had Devontae Adams, and he had Darren Waller, who missed half the season. Okay, then you've got Geno Smith, who has not only DK Metcalf now, but Tyler Lockett. He's got a great running game. He's got JSN now, first-round wide receiver. He's got a stronger defense. Like, he's got things, and he also plays in a much weaker division than Derek Carr played in. Like, all of these things matter for Geno Smith. He's going to be a top 10 at least quarterback. Top 12, I guess, at worst. Like, he's going to be fine.
You're
because he
guaranteeing Geno Smith is a QB1.
Yes, I will guarantee that. I will guarantee he's a quarterback.
Yet you have 5 guys from 8 to 13 that are interchangeable.
Yeah. Again, I'm confident enough in saying, and I'll guarantee it then, Geno Smith will be a quarterback 1. Like, that's done. I believe.
Will you shave your legs if he's not?
I'll do it live on camera, okay? I'll do it live for people.
After it grows back from the 2020 Gallup debate?
That's right. You guys, I'm spending a good amount of time tomorrow making a high-quality edited video for you guys.
I will make that bet with you right now on air.
Okay, Geno Smith is a QB1.
No, I'm going to make it top 10 quarterback.
Oh, now we're moving.
If we're gonna put full leg shaving on the table, are you confident enough to say top 10?
No, I'm gonna say I'll guarantee top 12. I will guarantee top 12.
Let me look at this list again real quick.
Oh, now we're looking at it. Okay.
Kyler's out.
Scared
So
money
that's
don't
one
make
guy.
money. Scared money don't make money, Travis. Look, I'll tell you what, the projections I'm looking at, they're not my own, but they've got Geno Smith at quarterback 12 on the year. I happen to think he's going to have a much better year than they're giving him credit for. But I don't expect it to be much worse. The quarterbacks behind him, the only guys I see that are going to have a relative possibility of overtaking him, I can see Tua having a better year. I can see Jared Goff having a decent year.
All right, we'll call it 11 on the line. If he's 11 or higher, I lose. 12 or lower, you lose. I said 10, you say 12, I meet you at 11.
I've got him at QB 12. Like, why would I say no? Why would I put him at QB 12 and say no?
Because you love him and you wanted to bring him up on our first show of the year.
He's gonna be a QB 1. That means 12. You take 12 and up.
K-Mad said take it. K-Mad said take it, Dustin. If you're confident, take it. 11 or better.
12 or better. You don't believe in Geno. Why you don't?
I don't.
You don't get to have him as a QB 1 and then say you won. I'm not giving.
But
you
all
that.
it takes is Lamar, Fields, Hurts, Allen, somebody to get hurt, 2 of them to get hurt, and Geno slides in from 13 to 12 or 11.
Look, Geno is going to be a QB 1. That's 12 to 1.
So that means he's beating out
he's going to
Deshaun Watson, Tua, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones sucks, so he'll beat Daniel Jones out.
Daniel Jones, Tua, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Stafford, all these guys. They're all not going to be, above Geno. Guys that I can realistically see beating him out. Kirk, Dak, T-Law, Watson. Those guys could beat him out and him still make the top 12. I like Geno Smith. I like that division that they're in. I think that team is going to do a lot better, and I think that what they want to do is going to be perfect for Geno. He's gonna. I've got stats up here that tell me
the problem is
you hate Geno.
The Rams defense they're tanking. The Rams defense is
Cardinals
sucks.
are going to be the worst.
Cardinals
team
suck.
Yep.
Niners are great. That's not enough.
Yeah.
I'll hold at 11.
You're gonna hold.
Oh, you got. What if A-Rich sneaks in? A-Rich ain't sneaking in there. Gardner Minshew's starting.
A-Rich could sneak in. He could be bottom, QB1. That is a possibility. But again, I like Geno. I think.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take it at 12.
Perfect. Awesome.
Next time we have a debate, whatever the line is, I get to move it up 1.
Oh, come on.
I'll take the 12 on this one because the penalty is severe.
See, I know
another caveat.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
You have to pay your debt.
Yes. I my name is besmirched.
Soon. Before you have a child, clear your family name.
This is true. I don't remember if I ever told people that I'm having a child. I can't remember.
Very soon.
Yeah, we've got 3 months. 3 months until that baby's gonna be here.
So you have 90 days to figure out when you're going to shave your legs.
That's right.
For those of you listening who are not aware of what we're talking about, we made a bet 2 seasons ago. Our first bet ever that Michael Gallup would have, what was it, 1 game as a wide receiver one,
and he was injured.
1
all
top
year.
12 week. And he played, I think, 10 games, and he didn't have it.
No,
one
he didn't
time.
He didn't play 10 games at all.
I think he did.
No, look it up. Look up Michael Gallup. I think he played like maybe 5 games because he was injured. He was coming back from that ACL.
It also taught us to put a minimum of games on the bets that we make.
Yeah. That's so. I still have to shave my legs, and that's happening. That is going to happen. I've already given much thought to when it's going to be happening. So it'll be soon.
Okay, so he played in week 1, and then he missed 2 through 9.
Okay.
He played in 10, 11, 12,
Then he
13,
tore his
14,
ACL.
15, 16, 17, 18. He played in 10 games on the dot. Oh, my goodness, my brain. Pat your brain.
Oh my god.
Pat your brain.
This guy. This guy. Yeah, but Geno Smith, huh? That's gonna happen. That's where I'm gonna draw the line here, and he's gonna be nice. Oh, that's right. He tore, yeah. So he was actually having a very nice game that last game of the season, then tore his ACL. So that was great. I remember
Bummer.
that game. Yeah, I
Bummer.
remember that game.
As you tear the hairs off your leg.
Oh yeah, they just shred them.
You could just wax them.
Oh hell no!
It could be better.
No. That's not a thing. That's not gonna happen. Why would I do that?
All right, so moral of the story of our initial conversation of trading draft picks, what I take from this is really what I've learned over 3 years. In summary, trade your future draft picks in your startup for young superstars. And like Ben says, be a year early on selling your vets. I learned the hard way with guys like Adam Thielen.
Oh, for sure.
Where he could have gotten you a first when he was a top 12 receiver for 8 weeks in a row.
Yep.
And you didn't sell him because you're thinking, I could get another year or two of this.
Sure. Sometimes
you just have to pull the trigger and take the pick.
Yeah, you can't. Greedy pigs get slaughtered, man. You try and hold on to these guys. That's why I always try to get rid of I hate calling them old because like 30-year-olds it hurts my soul, but getting rid of these guys that have kind of getting that age apex and beyond, where is like Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is realistically going to have 2 more high productive seasons at least, but getting rid of him is kind of what you should do, because there's going to become a point probably next season somehow that you're only going to be able to get like a second for him. And is that really worth it at that point? Essentially, you're just going to have an asset that is probably going to die on your bench.
Yeah.
Which, hey, if you're competing, that's fine. But like you said, be a year early. I'd rather trade, get value. And even if he goes on to have an incredible, top 10 season, I know I still got value from it. Because at the end of the day, it's what he ends up as, so.
Also, you don't need to hoard all these picks. I see some guys post screenshots on Twitter of like, I have 9 first-round picks. It's like the numbers say that 4 or 5 of those guys are going to bust.
Oh, for sure. Do not.
So just get 3 or 4 of them and try to hit on them. Yeah. You don't need everybody.
Perfect example. I am going through a rebuild in one league of ours, and I want to say like 5 draft picks in this draft. I traded 3 of them. One of them ended up being JSN. I traded 3 of them for Kyler Murray. 2 of them were late, and then the 105. That was beautiful. Like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. I just drafted Kyler Murray and done. It's beautiful.
Done.
Boom, done. Bun. And it's a beautiful thing. So that's what I'm saying is. It's great to have all these assets, but know what you need to build your roster. Know what points need to be there. Look, honestly, if there's one message to round this whole thing out, it's that get curious about the numbers in your league, age, production, the points and picks. Know where these things are allocated in your league. Know how many points your league mates are scoring and how many points you need to score to realistically be competitive. Forget the names of the players. Just look at the points that they're putting out. Get curious about, what is realistic for each one of those players on your team. And then that should provide you a path forward to know exactly where you stand in your league. Like and
spend some time looking. Just go one league at a time. Spend some time looking at every roster and know who's doing what. You kind of touched on this, but just to dive into it a little deeper, there are teams that are in full rebuild that you weren't paying attention to over the last couple months because it's not football season.
Right.
And they have 1 or 2 vets that are still just on their roster.
Yeah.
I know we've said the name Keenan Allen a lot, but those type guys, sure. Hopkins, Allen, Mike Evans,
yeah,
go get those guys for so cheap because that team is headed for a rebuild. They're looking to sell anyway. Yes.
You can
Go
get Adam
look.
Thielen right now, who realistically has a shot at 700 to 800 yards and a few touchdowns, and you can get him for a third.
Yeah.
Like
I agree. Invest a little time, see who's doing what. There will be some names that stick out that you can get for a good price. Shout out to our guy Chris Beck on Twitter at CGBeck5, one of the OGs from year 1 of Losing Sucks. Special shout out Machine Gun K-Mad and our one and only Ben, Mr. Adai himself.
Yes.
Part of the Losing Sucks family here.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. We're excited to be back for the 2023 season and the off season. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned for this year. Lots of improvements. Again, make sure you keep tuned in, stay up to date with the Twitter. We got some fun stuff, fun updates coming out. And always, same business as usual, Trev, as we sign off here, man. Losing
See y'all
sucks.
soon.
Don't do it.